Yeah. Hello and welcome again to Whispers from the Soul. And we're back here another week with another NDE. And this time we're going to the United States again. And because we've been there a few times, last week we were going to go to Greece in the end, I think it was. And now this week we're going back to the United States again. So we're going to, without any further ado, give a big welcome to Lee Papa. Hello, Lee.
Hi, Peter. Thank you so much. I'm here in Vegas,
In
in
Vegas. Oh,
Las Vegas.
yes,
Yep.
one place
Thank you
I've
so
always.
much for having me.
That's great. That's great for you to be here. Thanks for giving your time and effort into giving this information out and giving it to the people to understand the the real meaning of life, the real meaning of why we're here, the real meaning of all of it that's going on. Because we all get to a certain part, certain moment in our lives, and we think, what the hell is it all about? What's going on? I don't understand any of it. And each day I understand less. And this sort of thing and the day-to-day worry and the day-to-day running here, doing this, doing the job, doing this, getting the house, getting married, getting the kids, getting this, getting out and dying. That's not what it's about. It's not what it's about. So let's get into you. Right. Before your NDE, what was going on in your life? And before it all happened, what was going on? Because this usually leads up to a moment in certain people's lives where crisis changes their lives completely in direction. So usually going up to that moment, there's things going on, usually. I don't know if it's your case.
Yeah, exactly what you said. Prior to the NDE, my life was filled with chaos and drama and external circumstances that I felt very victimized by. I was an older mom. I had a toddler, newly married a couple of years prior, and moved to Las Vegas. My elderly mother had come to live with us. So, new marriage, new child, elderly mother, that whole dynamic, lots of chaos, lots of drama, lots of childhood stuff coming up. And I just looked outside myself for everything, right? So, fulfillment and happiness and everything was external. And I was lucky enough to be raised in a holistic health foundation. So my mother was very much into natural remedies and things like that. So that part of awakening, that part was already laid down, if you will.
That's one good thing.
But
One good thing you had in your.
yes, yes. Oh, there were many because what we, and what we chatted about prior is you learn through this process of awakening that everything is right, everything is good, everything is happening for you. But when you're in the middle of it, the tornado, you can't see the forest through the trees. You are whipped in this tornado, um, and you're just grasping for help,
Yeah.
right? And so I had moved with my then husband to Las Vegas to start this kind of new life, having my mother come live with us. We were very excited about it. And I was an older mom at that point. We struggled to have a child, and that finally happened, which was miraculous. And but my husband was in a major car accident just as we moved to Vegas. So it was like, oh, this new chapter, things are going to be better, things are going to be great. And then boom, right? Because
Oh,
the contrast always, right, follows us when we're not listening or we're not getting the message. So again, external, how did this happen? Why did this happen?
why
Um,
me? Why me?
right, why me? Right. And really, it was why him, because he was simultaneously going through all this major stuff, but it affected the whole family unit.
Yes.
But he went from a European, right, very joyful, fit, funny, kind human to what stress does to you and what chronic pain does to you, what trauma does to you. He turned into a completely different person, ended up being in a lawsuit, which, of course, is an awful experience because they make you journal your trauma and your pain every single day, every single moment. And so what does that do? You and I know this. It reinforces this victim, this disability in the person. And so he just transformed into a shadow of what he was. And we got to a point where we didn't like each other.
Yeah.
So we were in this new relationship with a new child, and he was the joy of our lives and really was the glue that kept everything together. And then my mother, who I was extremely close to growing up, almost too close, like, we were two peas in a pod. And then she came to live with us, and all of a sudden I saw this person that I didn't know. And there was a lot of drama around that. Turns out that there was early signs of dementia and things like that that I didn't know about. Um, but anyway, so yes, lots of drama, lots of chaos. Um, and then I got ill. And I had been in this phase where I forewent, if that's even a word, um, all the things that I knew about holistic healing and was doing antibiotics just to get better because everything that came down the pike I got because I used to say that. Don't get near me if you have a cold, I'll get it. Of course I would get it. All these upper respiratory things, like I was just reprogramming
Yes,
myself
right.
in such a bad way
It's like saying, give it to me,
that
give it to me. I
yes, it
want
was like
it.
I just want to collapse into this, mush of existence. And so I had this upper respiratory thing that was going on. My husband really was struggling and he had already had early experiences of awakening and spirituality. And so he wanted to do this Vipassana meditation, 10-day noble silence. He had done it before. So I was all for it, go do what you need to do. He left for 10 days. And by the way, if you're not familiar with this type of meditation, you go into a retreat, you leave your phone, there's no talking, there's no communication, it's all internal. And so for 10 days, there was no communication. And I just find it fascinating that the universe, creator, God, source, the divine, um, orchestrates so beautifully. It's like the universal chess game, moving all these people and places and things around for you to have your optimal experience. And so here he's gone, and then I'm very ill. He asked me to go and get some antibiotics so that he felt comfortable leaving me. So I did that, and we say goodbye. I finish with the doctor, get my antibiotics, and I'm a Virgo, so I don't know if you know anything about Virgos, but we get things done. And so I felt this was an opportunity. Okay, my husband's away. I'm going to get the things done in the house I wanted to get done. And so I didn't rest. And in a very short period of time, I went down and I went down fast to the point where I was in bed and I wasn't sure when I had had a meal or when I had last had anything to drink, and I didn't know where my son was. So at the time, he was 2 years old. And my mother was nowhere to be found. And I don't know if you're familiar with having an elderly person with you or even anyone living in your home, but they're always around, right? So it's like I would have to hide in a closet or a bathroom to get some, peace because someone was always calling my name. And she was nowhere to be found. And so she was kind of sequestered in her room. I remember kind of whispering some help. Nobody was going to hear me. I prayed and grabbed my phone and called my girlfriend, who was my son's godmother, to come get him, that I was very ill. She said she would take him overnight. And prior to me calling, and the reason why that kind of fear bubbled up is because I remember my spirit started to lift out of my body.
Mm,
And I was like, oh, I could go right now.
mm.
But my conscious mind was saying, my mother would have a heart attack. My son would be left alone in this house, right? And so all of the third dimensional conscious things. So then when I knew that he was safe, I left my body. And it was the most freeing, beautiful, expansive, thing imaginable. It's Dr. Michael Beckwith from the Agape Center in Los Angeles. I remember years and years ago said that death is like taking off a tight shoe.
Mm.
And boy, if that is not a great analogy for it, because we are so confined in this physical vessel
Yeah.
that when our spirit leaves, it is just expansive. Oh, I'm getting chills. Expansive. And I was in the light. So I went to the light. I was in this just pure love, this nurturing, beautiful, pure love that felt like it was an in-between place.
Yeah.
Like I didn't quite go to the other side. I was in this, tweener space. I describe it as like the light train home. Like I'm at the platform of the train station
Yeah.
waiting to go. And I was a sphere of light. I was a vibrational sphere of light. No qualms about not having a body. I was just in pure bliss. Absolutely. Nothing that we don't have the words
No.
for what that feels like.
That has
So,
been explained to me many times before within the East, all the time. It's impossible to give words to what the feeling, what the emotion is, and
yes.
that freeness of shedding all the things, the earthly things that we have, the worries, the
Yes.
physical
Well,
things,
it's gone.
it's all gone, all of it.
It's gone. It's not even like a dissipation or anything. It's gone.
Mm.
And the three main things that I took away from that was, there's no death. Absolutely, there's no death. There's only a transition.
Yeah.
Um, there's only love.
Mm.
Oh, lots of chills. There's only love.
Mm.
And there's no attachment. And that's the big one. So I'll go into the next level of what I felt when I was there was I'm like, okay, let's get this party started. I'm ready to go. So there
Give
was
me some more of
no
this. I want some
right.
more.
That's exactly. I'm ready. Like, okay. So there was no attachment to this third dimensional experience.
Yeah.
And yet here as a young, well, I wasn't young, I was an older mom, but my child was young, and oh boy, was I attached. I
Yeah.
mean, I was a helicopter mom. He's my only one, and he was this beautiful little towhead kid that, he was my world.
That's right.
So there was lots of attachment,
Of course.
but not there.
Actually, I'm glad you
So,
said that. Sorry for interrupting. I'm glad you said that
oh,
because when you said all attachment disappeared, 99% of the people that are watching us probably would have thought of material things.
oh, right.
I'm glad you said that it was your child because
Yeah.
this when you said this because I understood what you meant because I've got three children myself and I understand what it is attachment not just to your children but to your husband, to your wife, to your family, to your mother, to your sons, to your whatever, friends, everything. It includes everything.
And your pets. Hmm.
That's right. So when Lee is talking about attachment, she means everything here. Sorry for
Yeah, and thank you for doing that because I know that that tends to be like a sticking issue. Like, what? No attachment. Like, that's bad to not have attachment, right? How can you not have attachment? Well, it is because I'm just getting so many chills. Mm, the love
mm,
and what we know
mm,
is not it
yeah,
because what we know has attachment.
of course.
The love we know has condition.
Mm,
And so the love on the other side is so far beyond that that the the attachment goes away, the love gets bigger.
mm,
And so while I was there kind of waiting, I don't know how much time that was, but two light beings were off in the distance, which I find interesting as well, because here you're in this light, you are light, and yet there's depth perception because off in the distance, these two light beings started coming towards me. And one felt very masculine, one felt feminine. The one was taller, the masculine one was taller and a little fuller. And the feminine one was more slight and a little smaller. And no features because they glowed of light, but there was an outline. It looked like a human, a physical body, but of light. And these beings came to me and connected with me telepathically. and said that that there was really kind of the gist of it is it was a negotiation. It was not my official time to come back,
Right.
or to, go back home, if you will.
But did you have a
Um,
choice? Did you have a choice?
well, yes, that was the negotiation. So
That's
always
what I
free
thought.
will.
Hmm.
But I am stubborn, and I was like, no, no, no. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go home. I'm ready to, finish with that hard stuff that, it's very, very challenging, very dense, very difficult life, and hardly compared to many, right? But my perception of my life was
Oh,
that it
yeah.
was challenging. And so they said, it is your choice, free will, to stay or go, but we want you to have the information that you need to make the proper decision.
Hmm.
And so what they offered me was what I call a relationship review, and it's very different from what a lot of NDEers, and for many years, Peter, I never looked at anybody else's NDE,
Hmm.
or this was even kind of, it was just the beginning of when people were coming out, right? Coming out of the NDE closet, if you will.
That's right. Yeah.
Um, but the the review was not a physical review. I didn't see it.
Right.
Mine was a sense.
Hmm.
So it was a feeling that would wash over me of the relationship that I had with that person. And I know that there were many, but the key ones that I did remember were my husband, which was interesting because remember I said we didn't even like each other? There was nothing but love
Hmm.
and the wisdom and the knowledge of the experience that gleaned from that challenging experience. So it was always about the wisdom and the knowledge, and love was at the forefront.
Right.
And so that washed over me. There was no woulda, coulda, shoulda. There was no, oh, he's going to be better with somebody else, or he's going to, he's going to miss me, or he's going to get remarried. And there was no jealousy, there was no emotion that wasn't just the pure love of the experience.
Right.
And as that washed over me, my mom came and that washed over me, and they left my son for last. And oh, the pureness of this love, for about, I don't know, 6 months to a year. I couldn't even tell this part of the story without emotion just blowing up in me. I mean, not just a little tear, but bawling because it was so profound. The pureness of the love of this little soul who was not young at all, the soul was very old, but of this being that I had the experience to be able to birth and mother this young child was just yummy. It was just beautiful and sweet. And yet, after that washed over me, I was like, okay, let's go. Like, still no attachment. I was like, his his dad is a really great dad. He's going to be wonderful. He'll be fine with him. He'll take good care of him. All of this kind of negotiation. But these beings said, he will not be able to fulfill his destiny at the loss of you at such a young age.
Right.
That it will be so impactful for him.
Hmm.
And he had apparently tried to come through before and had lost his mother.
Right.
And so here has this other opportunity. And apparently, this time in human evolution, this was like the big show,
Right.
right? So this was very important for him to be able to move through his destiny.
Right.
And it was very important for me to do the work of the light because that's what ended up being the negotiation.
Right. So with these
Is
relationships, sorry,
no
when you're
go.
talking about the relationships between you and your husband and you and your son and you and the people around you, your mother, did you see on the when you were going through these relationships, were you feeling the relationship with the human part of those people or the soul? Were they soul family? Like a could you? I've heard them the NDs talk about these soul families, and these same
Yes.
souls coincide every time. And one maybe this time it's your husband, next time it could be your mother, next time it could be a friend, next time it could be your enemy. But
Right.
these souls come together like a soul family each time you live, and they have a different play a different part in your learning. Did you see it
That's
from
a
a small
great
part
question.
or a family
It's a
part?
Yeah, it's a great question. I've never been asked that question, by the way.
Thank you.
Um, no, for me, and I 100% agree with that experience, and I've had that experience, but not in the NDE.
All right.
The NDE was purely the wisdom and the knowledge that came from the soul and the human experience.
Right.
Um, the depth of my connection with my son is many lifetimes.
Right.
He was my parent the last lifetime, right? I mean, I could feel it. We even laugh about it because it comes through in this lifetime. Um, and so it's it is there's so many it's like a tapestry, right? There's so
Yeah.
many threads and layers to this experience that we just keep gleaning more knowledge. And we said it earlier that the more you know, the less you know. I mean, I know nothing. I don't. I mean, I know like this tiny fractional bit of information that has been my experience that I get to share, that maybe someone would say, hey, you know, that resonates, or oh, that has really helped me. Um, because that's what we're all doing here, especially now in this particular time in history. But let me finish the near death experience, and that is, I agreed to come back. I said, I will. Oh, I forgot one bit that was very powerful. So even though after I was feeling this and they were convincing me to come back, the last bit was, we want you to feel what this little one will feel at the loss of his mother. And with that, Peter, it felt like shards of glass ripping through my soul.
Obviously.
That's the bit that was so excruciating
Obviously.
that you wouldn't want that. And it was such a contrast between the expansive bliss
Yeah.
and then the human excruciating pain,
Yeah.
right? That uh, I, it was a no brainer. I mean, it was like, okay, I wouldn't wish that on anyone, you know, not even an enemy, which I don't hope I don't have enemies, but you wouldn't wish that on anyone, much less a child. And so I said, I will come back and I will be this beautiful soul's mom until he doesn't need me anymore. But here's the deal, I get to come back when I want.
Yeah.
Like once he is on his way and he doesn't need me anymore, I get to come back whenever I want, and no drawn out illness and painful, you know, thing. And with that, I was back in my bed. I sat up. I have no idea how long, but here I was like on my deathbed. And then I'm sitting up and I'm going, what the expletive just happened to me? Because I didn't know. I was
Yeah.
calling it a fantasy of death. I didn't really understand. I didn't know near death experiences really at that time. But the really cool thing, Peter, is that I came back with this residue that everything was beautiful. Everything was like glowing and alive and vibrant, even inanimate objects, even my doorknob and the hinges and the drapes, and everything was just beautiful. And I don't know how long I sat there in this stupor of appreciation, but I was like, I need to get some help. What the heck just happened? And I called my sister, who at the time, we've talked about, you know, challenges prior, very tumultuous family dynamics. But at that time, again, the universal chess game, the universe gave me her because we were in a space where we were communicating, and she was very much into spirituality and the secret, and she had sent me the book on the secret, and that was a turning point for me as well.
Yeah.
So I said to her, and she's a Leo, very personality forward.
Yeah.
And when we would talk to each other, I would barely get a word in edgewise. But this time, silence. This time, I said, I have an experience that I have to share with you. I detailed out the experience. She didn't say a word until I said, what do you think? And then this exuberance came out of her. You had an exit opportunity, is what she was calling it. We all have these opportunities. Most of the time, we don't even know we have them. But you obviously had it and remembered it for a reason. And she was just there was just a lot for someone coming back from the light. So I was like, okay, I need to talk to you later. And then I sat with that for a minute, and then I called a friend of mine who was like my spiritual buddy, and she's on the other side now, Brenda. And I said, what's just happened? And she said, you need to contact my spiritual mentor in Houston, Texas. I did that, and within really felt like moments, this woman calls me back. I detail everything that happened, and she said, textbook NDA. I mean, NDA, that's funny. NDE. And she said that she had had multiple ones. And she said, do you feel like there's this? She's the one that gave me the term residue. Do you feel like there's this residue on you? And I'm like, oh my God, yes. Like,
Mm.
I don't know what it is, but everything is beautiful and bright and blah, blah, blah. She said, journal, journal, journal. Write everything you can remember down, because that will dissipate over a period of 2 weeks. And then you will spend the rest of your life trying to get back there. And boy, was she right.
Mm. Mm.
So that's the NDE part. And then I woke up the next morning, brought my son home. I had such a new appreciation for this old soul and this beautiful being that I got to have a redo with, right? And with a newfound understanding of what my role was for him, and less worry,
Yeah.
because I knew that he was going to be okay.
Right.
And then I woke up with half my face paralyzed. Yeah.
That's the next
So
challenge.
that's yeah, next challenge.
Next challenge. But I have a story for you because I interviewed
Ooh,
an NDE that you're going to love this NDE because it's very related to what you were talking about, your relationship with your son. Um, there's a lady I interviewed, a Spanish lady called Gretel Botella, who had an NDE, and this was when she was younger. And
don't
then,
hear anything.
yeah, this was when there's a lady I interviewed called Gretel.
Peter,
Yeah,
you froze, hon. I'm sorry.
that's
I
okay.
didn't
Don't worry.
hear.
Don't worry.
I You said
You're
that.
back.
Yeah, I'm back. But I heard you said that I was going to like this NDE, this
You
story.
are.
That's what I heard.
Because it's very similar to your relationship, the relationship you have with your son. Because this lady had an NDE, but little did she know that this NDE was for a reason. She had an NDE, she went through all the process, this and there, and then years later, she had one child, but then she had a second child after that, because she had on the birth of the first child when she had the NDE during the birth. She recuperated, she got better, this, that, the other, and then a couple of years later, she had another child. When that child was 18, he became very, very ill and he was dying. He had a very rare disease and he was dying. When he became at the end of his life, in the last days of his life, when he was suffering, he was in bed, he was in hospital, he was with her husband, they were going through this duel that they had to go through because they were losing their son. She realized that the NDE was to prepare her for this moment. And she said to her son, don't worry, stop suffering, go, because you'll always be with us. Don't worry, I know you're always going to be here. You can go. Because he was hanging on for them more than for himself. She said goodbye to him. She went outside. 10 minutes later, he died.
Mm.
And from that day, every day, she felt him in the room with her and spoken to him. But she realized in that moment that she had her NDE because of that moment to
That's
prepare her.
powerful.
It was absolutely beautiful the way I mean, she talks about it all the time now. She's got a book out. She's an amazing woman, amazing. And I was really, really emotional when she was telling me this story. I was going, "Oh my God, I couldn't even imagine that happening to me." And
Well, yeah, a loss of a child is I can't even imagine how you get through that if you don't have a spiritual connection,
Of course, yeah. Yeah.
right?
I couldn't imagine myself in that moment when she was saying to her child, go, I said, die.
Yeah.
No, go.
Well, that's unconditional love.
It is. It is.
You know, don't suffer for me. That's beautiful.
We'll be
Mm.
okay. She said, we'll be okay. Don't worry. We know you're going to be here with us. You're just not going to be in a physical plane, but you're going to be with us. And go. And he left. And
And I think that when we are able to be in a place where we talked about channeling before and mediums and things like that, when we are in a place to understand, truly understand that this is not the end, peace does come with that. It doesn't mean that you don't grieve or you don't miss
no,
that person,
of course.
but it's not the end. And I feel my mom all the time. And whenever I had a wellness center here in Las Vegas, 6,000 square foot wellness center. And whenever we had a medium come in, there's a really great story in the book that um, I don't want to ruin it for anybody, but it's so good how my mother came back to send a message, and having that and feeling her. When she passed, she came to me in a vision over hovering. She was like in her 40s, so it was really like the best time of her life. And I think that a lot of times those on the other side present themselves in their happiest time, or like somewhere in between their 30s and 40s.
Hmm.
But she was hovering over a field of red poppies,
Hmm.
and it was just so peaceful and beautiful. And she's like, don't grieve for me,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? I'm great,
Hmm.
right? This is good.
I'm better than
So
you are. I'm
yes.
not suffering. You are.
Yes.
I'm not.
And when you open that window or that door, and you have someone that is very good at that kind of communication, it's a beautiful experience. My mother was always the first one in line, like pushing everybody out of the way. She wants to have a communication with me, and she's always there whenever like I would have to interview or talk to a medium. They all say the same thing. Oh, wow, there's this woman. And I'm like, I know who it is, right?
Pushing your way to
Mom
the
wants
front.
to, right. Uh-huh. She's like, let me at her. Right. Um, so I look forward to the other side. I'm not ready to go yet which is interesting because I thought that I would, as soon as my son was an adult, that I would be like, oh yeah, done. And I want to be clear, just because you have an NDE or some extraordinary spiritual experience doesn't mean that you then have all the answers and that your life is perfect.
Oh no.
Um, it usually means the opposite,
Hmm.
that things get more challenging.
Yeah. But you see a lot
And
more. You see a lot more contrast because you feel a lot more for the people who don't understand it. You say, "What are you doing? What are you doing? What? How can you think like that? How can you fight for this and how can you fight for that when it's totally useless?" That's one thing. Like in becoming more spiritual and more understanding NDEs and understanding what really life is all about. That's one thing I've dropped. I've dropped politics, I've dropped religion, I've dropped all the things that separate people.
that's right.
Everything.
Because it's a program. It's a program in the matrix, or the simulation, or whatever you want to call this experience, that keeps us divided. And that's why we're here, to awaken to the understanding that we are not divided. We've all been all things. And this is why I love the platform that I teach on, which is mindfulness, because mindfulness equals awareness. And
Right.
people are like, oh, yeah, I'm aware. I'm like,
Mm.
awareness of your thoughts and your actions in the world around you.
Mm.
The drum roll is in non-judgment.
Mm.
So all of this judgment that is external, that we have been programmed for from birth up, comparing each other and all of this, we've been all things in every experience, probably aliens as well.
Yeah.
We've been all things, and we've chosen to be these different variations to have the experience of that.
Of course. Of course.
So it is exhausting
Yeah.
to play in the matrix of contrast
Mm,
and judgment
mm,
and duality. It's
mm,
exhausting.
mm.
And it's getting even more exhausting as you feel it amping up and amping up and amping up.
Yeah. And you
And
become more lonely as well because people start to disappear.
yes, they
Because
do.
you start talking, acting in a different way, and and they start thinking, "Oof, he's turned weird," and they start like drifting away from you because it's impossible to be in the same room as someone in a different vibration to you.
Yes.
It's impossible because or you don't feel it or they don't feel it, and so the friends you've had for years seem to be completely different now than they were 10 years ago, but they're the same. The only one who's changed is you.
That's right.
So it
And to be
becomes,
okay with it.
yeah, of
But
course.
that's the thing, is to let them go.
Oh yeah,
Not in a way that is, like sad,
no,
but that, you know, and maybe those seeds that you've planted in them will germinate,
yeah, yeah,
right? And something will happen with them. But I find that a lot of people that are here on the planet now that have awakened
yeah.
have this experience, right? It's very isolating and possibly lonely, but then it moves into an empowerment
Mm,
of this oneness
mm,
that a lot of times people need the company of other people because they're filling some inner void.
yeah,
Whereas when you are full in the Holy Spirit, that you really don't need someone else. You enjoy everything that's going on inside here and appreciate the wisdom and knowledge that comes from every experience
right.
and every relationship with the non-judgment of it.
That's
But
the
you,
that's the word you said. The oneness is the base of it all. You see,
yeah,
there's no judgment if you know there's a oneness.
yes,
You know that everything comes from one place. You can't judge it. You can't judge it. That's how I used to explain it at school. I've said this a few times on the program. At school, when I used to teach religion, and I used to talk about the soul. I used to say, right, imagine consciousness, right, or the soul, or whatever you want to call it, the universe. Imagine there's a tree trunk. There's this massive tree. It's really, really, really enormous. And there's a trunk. And then there's branches. And then there's leaves. Well, each one of us is a leaf. So we're individual, but we're part of one big thing. So when the leaf falls, we're part of that whole thing again. And when it grows again, then you're a leaf again. And then you're individual again, but you're still part of one whole big thing. And if you see the world through knowing that you're part of a whole big thing, you have no judgment because the one you're
it
talking
falls
to,
away.
that's right, because yet the trees and the plants and the nature and everything that's alive is part of you because you're coming from the same place as the animals, as the trees, as the plants, as the everything around you. And that's the oneness that everyone has to understand to drop judgment. If you don't drop judgment,
Yeah, you can't tell someone to not judge. They have to move through the spiritual healing and expansion for it to be a byproduct.
mm,
So when I'm talking to a coaching client or training at an event, um, I usually say to people, so if mindfulness equals awareness in non-judgment,
yeah,
who do you think that we judge the most?
mm,
And everybody answers this, right?
themselves.
Ourselves. We judge ourselves the most. So how do you expect to stop judging Susie or George or,
Yeah,
whoever or an experience if you're constantly judging yourself? And I will tell you, the ones that are judging externally the most, who are the loudest judgers externally, are the ones that are going through hell inside judging themselves. So we have to flip it and show compassion, even if it's just a little prayer,
yeah,
most powerful thing you can do, for those people who are screaming the loudest in judgment,
yeah,
because we have to start with ourselves. And
yeah,
hopefully they will start to learn that and turn that around and start loving themselves. And once they do that, it is a snowball effect, and it starts with loving others.
Of course, yeah. All the great teachers in the world in the past have said that. Even Jesus said that. Jesus said, "I'm not here to make better the people who are sane. I'm here to help the people who are not sane. The people who
Have
are."
you ever seen The Chosen?
I've seen some of it. I think I saw the first few episodes of the first series.
Uh, it's worth revisiting and getting through. The first three are probably that's laying all the groundwork, but it's a phenomenal series. I've seen the whole thing like, I don't know, 15 times. It's so good. And one of the lines, and it's directly coming from the Bible. And I can't quote the Bible, but for the first time in my life, several years ago, I started reading it, and which is interesting because I was born and raised Catholic. Um, but yes, it's not what did Jesus say? It's, it's not the healthy people that need a doctor,
That's right.
which is exactly what you said.
That's right.
Yeah.
This, this, it's exactly what we're here to do. I mean, we're not here to help the people who already know all this. We're here to help the people who don't know it all, who need to understand this, who need to, because the more they understand, the more they will enjoy life, and others will enjoy life around them.
Yeah, and it's the whole point of being here at this time.
Mm,
If you are here on the planet having a physical experience,
mm.
because that's what we're doing, spiritual beings having a physical experience
That's right.
on the planet right now, then this is your time to wake up.
Yeah, it is. It is a great time to wake up at this moment because there's a lot of people waking up right now.
And once it starts, there's no going back. You can't put the genie back in the bottle.
No.
Like once you see things clearly and
Mm,
understand things clearly, there's no going back to being asleep,
mm.
right? So, you can go back to the matrix and the red pill and the blue pill, right? You can't put the genie back in the bottle. So, but when it happens, it's a spark, and then there is just no,
No.
like, you just want to keep going.
That's right.
And then it's just like one layer and one layer, and then those breadcrumbs, you keep going after them. And it ebbs and flows. Like there's a time where you'll have this great awakening of something, and then you need to heal that aspect of yourself, and then you work on laying that strong foundation, and the next thing will come.
Oh yeah, there's lots of things to be looked into. When you start, there's no stopping. I mean, so many things we have to heal in ourselves, spiritually, and through genealogy. There's so many things that.
Past lives, ancestral
Yes.
imprints, and there are many modalities and many pathways to
Oh yeah,
get
yeah,
to
yeah.
that
Yeah.
healing and the expansion. So whatever lights you up, is it Reiki? Is it hypnosis? Is it meditation? Is it, channeling? Is it mediumship? Is it Christianity? Is it prayer? Is it Jesus? I love me some Jesus. So I'm all for that. Um, but whatever is calling to you is your
Oh
experience.
yeah, yeah. It's very
That's
personal.
what you were meant to awaken through.
That's right. And there's another thing also, apart from that, we're talking about healing. Nobody's going to heal you. The only person who's
Right.
going to heal you is you.
It's you.
People can show you how to do it. People can give you the guidelines of what to do, how to do it. But the only person who can heal it is you. And anyone who tells you they
Absolutely.
can heal you is lying. Nobody
Well,
can.
and you run. This is the term healer has always been a trigger for me because I have a lot of healing modalities in my spiritual tool belt. Like I said, I had a wellness center, and I was a practitioner for many years in the energy world, and I would cringe at that term
Of course.
because I'm like, I'm just a vessel.
Mm,
I'm just the physical body
mm,
giving you the information,
mm,
running energy through me, blah, 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 blah. It is not me at all.
mhm.
And I think, the ego is a very interesting, um, what do we want to call the ego? I mean, it's part of it's the personality,
Yeah,
but it likes to take ownership,
of course.
right? And so when you go through this, and it also reminded me of like when there's smokers that stop smoking, they want everybody to stop smoking, right? It's kind of the same thing that, and I totally agree with that, by the way. Everybody should not be smoking. Um,
So do I.
but uh, once you have like an experience, like let's say it's Reiki or an energy healing experience, or you've gone through Reiki 1, 2, and 3 yourself, your master level. You want everybody to do it, and it becomes like that energy of no, you have to, this is the way, right? Um, but if someone is called to it, then that's great.
Yeah.
It's not, there's nothing about forcing or grasping. And that's another layer of understanding because I was always a forcer and a grasper. And I came to learn over time that your energy is what is attracting. So you call things in to your experience based on your vibration. And it's a much more peaceful and easy way to navigate your life than pushing Mercury up a hill, which is what my ex-husband used to say. I love the visual of that, right? Pushing Mercury up a hill, like it's always rolling back on you, right?
Yeah.
But so there is a roadmap, there is a blueprint of how to navigate this earthly experience with more ease and grace. Um, and I am a big proponent of meditation because you can quiet the mind to allow the dust to go away, the static to go away, so you could really hear your higher self supporting you and helping you.
Mm.
And we have all the tools right here. Our
Of course we
our
do.
body is a tool. It
Yeah,
is always talking to you,
of course.
whether we listen or not.
Yeah, well, that's another issue.
Right.
Yeah,
Well, let's talk about channeling because you brought that up, and tell me about, because I've had the experience myself, and there's actually a channel that I'd love to be able to read to you and the audience because it's about what the purpose of life is,
right.
that I received while I was writing the book the first time.
Great.
This is the second edition, but
Brilliant.
tell me about your channeling experience.
Well, it all started a few years ago when I was meditating and I was receiving messages from this being, and which later I found out was Merlin.
Oh, I have a connection to Merlin. I
Yeah,
love that.
yeah. He's a great person. He's a great spiritual being and very serious, very imposing because he's a like serious guy and but when you talk to him, he's very, very wise. He won't give anything. He won't give anything to you like done. He's saying, no, no, you have to think of it yourself. You have to do it yourself. You have to, come on, you can do it. Just, you know, go into it and you'll find the way. Don't worry about it. And sometimes I have to ask direct questions and he'll give me a direct answer. He'll say, well, okay, well, there you go. Do this. But it started a few years ago, yeah, and I've got a few on my channel actually, which they're in Spanish anyway. But I did do a few channeling sessions live on YouTube, and I've put them in the channel. But yeah, he's given some great messages over the past few years of more or less what we're talking about. You know, where we're going, why we're here, what we should be, how we should be seeing things, the perception of things, and the way the thing, lots of how the human race has gone, like going to the right or to the
Off the
left,
rails.
off the rails, and well, we have been pushed also because power has been a big thing in the last few centuries. So since there's been power and money, there's been always been problems. But anyway, he helps me.
I would love. I kind of made a face because you said they were in Spanish, and I don't speak Spanish. So can you do? Maybe you could do those in
I
English.
could try and
Um,
do, yeah.
yeah,
I do
translate
have to
them.
do it. I have
That
to
would
do
be
it.
awesome. Or
No,
I think there's AI that would do that for us now, and you could just post it with a transcript or something.
yeah.
Um, the Do you believe that there is evil?
Yeah, well, not exactly. How can I explain? I believe there are what I call dark ones, oscuros, they call it in Spanish. They're called dark, no, not dark spirits. They're not evil spirits. They're not like you see in the films, like possessed people and things like this, the evil spirits. They are souls that have turned to cause chaos. They're not to cause damage to anyone. They're to cause chaos, and that's it. And I've had, I mean, I cleanse myself every morning. I go through myself, and because sometimes they can, especially when you have light. If you're a light person or a light seed, they tend to cling onto you so you don't shine too brightly because you're helping everyone else. So what they do is they're not evil, they're just trying to cause chaos in the world. That's it. That's all. That's what it is. And it's not as bad as everyone thinks.
Mm.
When I do speak to one, and whenever I do cleanse myself of one, or if they've put something on me, some sort of deposit or something on me that to stop me from doing that, or if I have a pain or an ache in my shoulder, so I can feel that they've put something there. So I, go to speak to him. He has to come forward. So they come forward. I speak to them. I say, now I offer you to go to the light, to become a light soul instead of being a dark on the dark side. And some of them go, and some of them choose not to. So it's not they're not evil as in because we think of evil as when we see in the movies, the really evil spirits that can do really bad things to us. And I don't think it's like that. I
Mm.
haven't had that experience, and I will hope I never do. To be honest.
Yeah, I've had experiences. So, yeah, I've had experiences with darkness and
Mm,
dark entities,
mm.
and and I know early on because I was all when I had the wellness center, it was all about, love and light, It was all about the goodness and the light side and all of that. And until until I was presented with situations that were very dark and you can feel it.
Yeah,
Um, and you can see it. I mean, like depending on what your uh, gift or skill level is or whatever. Um, and I prefer to work in more the healing and lifting, helping to lift energies up versus removing dark energies or entities. I was in Peru and I had an experience through ayahuasca
oh,
that
interesting.
I yeah, and I prepared for it for months ahead of time with special diet. I was like, I was so skinny. Uh, Special diet for months, and I'm going to go back a little bit because remember when I said that the gal that helped me through the NDE said you're going to search for that feeling the rest of your life, and I said absolutely. Well, that was the point of ayahuasca. Um, Ayahuasca is a serious plant medicine,
Yeah,
and it is something that it needs to be done in an environment that is skilled,
perfect.
and it's not regulated. And
No, no, no.
so I really thought that I was going to see God again, right? I was going to be in that same love energy, and that is not what happened. And it was very dark and very scary, and it opened a realm and a door to what I call jumpers,
Right.
and the dark entity that stayed with me until another shaman, and that was just another extraordinary thing that happened. I could not get rid of it on my own,
All right.
I can still kind of see, like, remember he's not here, he's way gone, but I could still remember what I saw in my peripheral vision of that, and that was dark.
Mm,
Again, I wouldn't call it, like you said, evil, but this entity was wanted to wreak havoc.
yeah.
And out of the blue, I prayed and I said, I need somebody stronger and more skilled and aware of what's going on to help me. And I received a phone call from a Peruvian shaman who lived in the United States, and she got a message to call me, and she came and took care of it.
Oh, there you go. Well, me and my
Yeah,
partner have done that. We've done cleansing of
yeah.
certain people, light cleansing. I'm not talking about people who are possessed or anything like this. We're not.
Right, right, right.
But we're people who have gone through just bad experiences in the last a few years, or have gone through a bad moment in their lives, and they start getting aches and pains and things like this. And I said, well, you probably need a cleansing. And there's probably something clinging onto you, or some dark one trying to, to push you towards them, or to ask you. Because when you're in those dark moments, the dark ones ask you to make contracts with them. They ask you to
Mhm.
make deals with them, and they want your soul. They want you to give them their soul, so you work for the dark side, creating chaos. So in those moments is when you have to seek someone who can help you do it yourself, or you can who can guide you through it and do it. Because my girlfriend is yeah, does this sort of thing all the time as well. She's very good at it, and so she guides it, and I just help because they need. Sometimes we need two, sometimes we need three of us, depending on the power of the spirit of the dark one who's there. But we've done it with animals too. We've done it with dogs. We've done it with cats. We've done it with people's pets who've gone through illnesses. And because it's interesting about dogs, because dogs take, I don't know if you knew this, dogs take suffering from their owners. So if
Mhm.
sometimes when a dog has a cancer, he's taken it from what the owner should have got, and what they've
Yes.
done, what their owners should have had, they've taken it themselves. And so they pull it in themselves because they're protecting their soul is protecting the soul of their owner, their soulmate. And with cats, it's different. With cats, they protect
They're
the
healers. Mhm.
healers, yes. They protect. They don't take it in themselves. They push it away. So it works in a different way. And horses are great healers. I had a fantastic experience this weekend with a horse, with two horses, which in a village near here, which me and my girlfriend were walking through the countryside. And there's a little village we walked to, and there was three horses, two I can't remember what they're called in English now. Two females and a male. They were separate.
Okay.
They were with a fence, yeah, because they couldn't be near each other. And we went to the male horse, and he was standing towards, looking the other way in the middle of the field. And we walked up to the fence where it was. He turned around, looked at us, said, and he came over. And they're great healers. They heal,
Uh-huh.
they cleanse your soul in absolutely amazing
They're
animals.
great with PTSD.
Amazing animals. And he came straight over because I
Mhm.
said, "Can you help me?" And he came straight over. I put my hand against the fence. He started putting his nose against my fence, against my hand, and then he started licking it.
Oh,
And then he stopped, and then he had like he was trying to throw up. He was there for about 5 minutes trying to throw up, giving out all the bad energy he'd taken out of my hand. And then he put his nose on the other side. He wanted my other hand. So I put my other hand up. He put his nose against it, started licking it for about 5, 10 minutes. And then he turned around again. He started trying to spew again, try to start pulling out his tongue. And he was like, "Ah," for about another 5, 10 minutes.
wow.
Then he stopped, and then he came over. He put his head against the fence sideways for me to touch him. And I was saying thank you. I said, well done, thank you very much. It helped me. And then the two female horses came over, and they looked towards us. And I said, did you help when he was doing this from a distance? And they lifted their heads like this, both of them.
Oh, very cool.
Amazing. So I
Very
had a very
cool.
good cleansing from a horse this weekend.
Well, that's very powerful, and they are our companions on many levels. But I think it's important for us to talk about. We were talking about channeling, and be very careful to who you let work on you,
Oh, yes, of course.
and what doors you open,
Yes.
because I was very skilled in many things, yet the experience with ayahuasca was not a good experience for me. And then it took me, years to work through what that was all about. But
That you don't have
um
so much control in you because your spirit opens up completely. And so unless you protect yourself before you go into it,
and that's what I wanted to make sure people know, that when you're channeling or you're opening certain doors, you say a prayer over yourself. You protect yourself.
Oh yeah, 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 sure. And when you go
And
up to talk to the light spirits, you have to before you go up, you have to because you're going to a different dimension. We go to dimension 22 usually to when we do it when we do the healings and when we go to see to heal animals or whatever. We me and my girlfriend go up to more or less 22, and that's a very high level of intensity. And so if you're not protected, you can be attacked by
yes,
all different ways, even
yes,
possessed maybe.
yes,
So
yeah,
you have to be very protected. It's very
yeah.
important what you said.
I'd love to read this channel for you. May I?
Of
Great.
course. Us, of course.
Okay.
That's why we're here.
So this came through in June 15th, 2011. This was while I was writing the book, Temple of All Knowing.
Temple.
Um, Temple of All Knowing.
I'll put it in the
Thank you.
description of the video.
But this is the most, I mean, this I want everybody to hear because this is powerful. Um, Love enters us from a well of existence that is streaming from the natural source. We do not own it. It flows freely and is given with no requirement or judgment of its use. It is the life force of all creation. I am here to tell you that this life force runs through each and every one of you and each and every one of all living beings in the cosmos. If you could glimpse for just one moment the purity of the light of all existence, the same moment that we allowed Lee to experience and to draw upon for her strength in her journey as she continues to expand into the being that she already is, it would most definitely change you. The worry and the fear that penetrates every layer of your current existence would vanish like a streak of lightning in the night sky. It would melt all the worry and the darkness from your hearts and fill you with the light of love for all mankind. There would be no differences, no wars to fight, no burdens of finance. As with this love, all things for all people are possible. Your limited knowing of what the light is the only problem or issue that you need to resolve. The only issue. As once the clarity is yours, you will no longer seek anything but the essence that is the light of pure energy. You see, the strength that is you, that you do not know, is just below the surface to be uncovered by you. This is the journey, you see. It is the unveiling of the shell that you have encrusted upon yourself in darkness so that you can see again. The world is your playground, your playhouse, and your school. It is that for each and every one of you. Some of you see now, and some of you are beginning to see. It is a joyous occasion for all of those who are able to see this unfold. It is glorious in many ways as your existence is unfolding in the hands of those who seek. You are the beauty and the life of all beings and all people, and the sages of the old ways will no longer be the ones that those follow, as the followers will be only you in your own path of seeking. This is true for all. Do not seek to find what is already within you. The path to the enlightened is with you.
Wow. Wow. Woof.
So it feels pretty aligned with what's going on in the world today.
Yes.
So many people waking up, and it's their own journey
Yeah.
from within that is happening, and it's quite a magical time to be here to witness it.
It is. It,
And
there's a lot of powers that are going to fall in the next few years too. From what everyone is channeling at the moment, all the channelers that I know of are saying the same thing that the powers that have overruled the world in the last centuries are beginning to fall. And political, banking, all types of powers that are beginning to lose their power because
those are, yeah, constructs that no longer serve the existence of mankind. It was a time. I mean, if you think about astrologically, and this is now moving into the age of Aquarius,
yes,
which is, making all that was hidden
Yeah.
seen,
Yeah.
that all these things have been happening for a long, long time, but we just didn't know about it. It was hidden. And we were programmed to just, rinse and repeat. Spend money, make other people rich, right? Go to work, all this thing.
Cycle.
That's not what we were meant to be,
Yeah.
to live in that kind of construct.
The program since we started school.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the schools were made for people to work in factories in the 1920s.
There
So
you go. Right. Fall in line,
that's right.
right? Everybody line up, fall in line.
Right.
And if you were a free thinker, oh no, that's detention.
Of
Don't
course.
be a free thinker.
No, no,
I
no.
mean, it's fantastic, getting to know you and knowing that you were a school teacher
Yeah.
and that students were able to have this really blessed teacher with all this wisdom to sow the seeds in them as young people.
That,
And so,
that
how
was fired.
wonderful that is.
That was
What?
fired. That was fired.
Because
Anyway.
you were meant to do this,
Oh
right?
yeah, of course. No, no,
That's
I
right.
agree. No, yeah, it's probably there's in one of the challenges too that I was told, the medium I told you about, she said that what you were saying, that era of my life of teaching young children or teaching young people what life is all about really in the classroom had come to an end. And that era of my life had come to an end. I had to go on to teaching other things, to doing other things, and this was what they were showing me that there was the next part of my life that I should go into. But yeah, I enjoyed it thoroughly. Teaching young minds, or not just teaching, just showing them what really is all about.
Well,
Because
breaking the program. I mean,
yeah,
that's really,
yeah,
and
that's
getting them at a young age to break the program
that's right.
is what we need to be doing.
Yeah,
So,
that's exactly right. And I'll tell you something, every child that was disruptive in class was never disrupted in my class. I never had a disruptive child. Even the most nervous ADHD child that I've had hundreds of them throughout 25 years of teaching, never caused a problem. Never. Because they were so interested in
they were
what we
lit
were
up.
doing
Yeah.
and how we were doing it and what we were talking about. And nobody wanted to have the class of religion. They used to hate religion. And then when I started teaching, everyone wanted religion. I said, "Can we do religion?" I said, "What do you mean? This is not religion now. We're doing maths. Now it's time for math. Religion's on Fridays at 4 o'clock." So I said, "Yeah, but what are we doing? Can we talk about?" Yes, we'll talk about that, but on Friday at 4 o'clock. But now let's do this because they knew when we went into that spiritual part, that spiritual moment, that we were going to talk about things that we even talked about NDEs.
Oh,
Talked about things like that. We talked about, we talked about reincarnation. We talked about children that have remembered their past lives, and we saw short videos about children who talked about their past lives.
I love that subject.
That me too. And we used to do meditations. We used to do 5 minute meditations in class. I used to love it. And all those sort
Brilliant.
of things we used to do throughout the years, and they loved it. Even from year one. I mean, I'm talking about 5 year olds, 6 year olds. They used to love doing meditations.
Well, maybe writing up the curriculum for other teachers to follow suit
Oh,
would be
I tried,
amazing.
I tried
Yeah.
for years, and nobody would
Yeah.
listen.
Mm.
No, nobody would listen.
Well, hopefully with the changing of the energy that more, I know mindfulness is coming into the schools and
Ah,
meditation is
yeah,
coming into the
in certain
schools
areas.
here. And the school system is going to change for sure. It kind of reminds me of, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie The Last Mimsy.
No.
No, it's a great little spiritual movie. And at the end scene is like a countryside, and this beautiful blonde woman is just ethereal, and she has all these kids around her, and she's telling the story of the last Mimsy, basically history, right? How humanity was basically going to implode, but there was the pureness of this one child, and yada yada yada. But anyway, but that's what the school was. The history was all about spirituality and love. And then she says, "Okay, children, I'll see you tomorrow." And they all float up in the air. I was like, I love that.
That is
I
beautiful.
love that.
That's
Yep.
beautiful. Yeah,
And What Dreams May Come, which is my favorite all-time movie. Have you ever seen that? What Dreams May Come? with Robin Williams. Oh, you have to see these
I'm sure
movies.
I've seen it.
Yeah,
I'm sure I have.
is fantastic. Before its time. I mean, I'd love to see it come out again.
He was a great
Um,
actor. He was a great soul.
yeah, yes.
He had that.
Tortured, being on this planet.
Yeah.
But
He,
yes.
he had a great understanding of what life was all about. Although he ended it and he wanted to get back home. He'd had enough.
I think he did.
I think he did too. Okay, well, thank you very much. If you want to talk a little bit about your book before we go, The Temple of All Knowing. What is it
It's
about?
yep, the Temple of All Knowing. It's about my story, what we talked about today.
Or the ending?
So it reads more like a novel than just detailing out the near-death experience. And in the spiritual wisdom that came, this is the second edition, which I highly recommend the second edition because it came with 10 years of more spiritual wisdom.
Oh, of course.
And so yeah, that's on audio, hardback, paperback.
And do you have a
Thank you.
webpage?
Leepapa.com, leepapa.com.
Okay.
And there's a page on my near-death experience there. There's a page for coaching, a page for speaking. I work in meetings and events where I train in wellness and mindfulness.
Well, all of
And
these links, I'll put them in the description of the video. So if anyone wants to go to your
thanks.
webpage or to your book or whatever, they go into the description of the video and the link's already there. You just got to press it and you'll go straight there.
Good deal. Thank you so much. I
Right.
appreciate our time together. It was so much fun.
It was. It was. I'm in the near future. I want to do a round table in
Ooh, let's do it.
with a few NDEs, and so 3 or 4 together, and talk about certain subjects together, and have a soul binding chat like we have
That
today.
sounds fun.
Okay. Well, I'll let
Count
you
me
know.
in.
I'll be. We'll chat about it, and we'll get it going.
Okay. Sounds
Take care.
good. Thank you so much. Bye, everybody.
Bye bye. Okay, thank you very much for you guys, Olga, for being there in another week. And next week we'll be back with another ND. Who knows where from? We don't know. See you soon. Bye bye. So I wanna.